Hey, Slider Crusaders, add it to the list. We got a million things still coming. Aside from all the cultural issues, we still have a bunch of economic issues as well, including an infrastructure project coming. This is AOC. One of the big goals we had when we introduced the Green New Deal was to show how people thought about climate change from being a $1 billion program to a $1 trillion opportunity. This infrastructure project package generally seems to be shaping up in that kind of framework. Super. Joel Griffith is here from Heritage Foundation. What's up, Joel?
Hello. Thanks for having me this afternoon.
Man, good. I'm really grateful you're here. So I haven't even wrapped my head around an infrastructure program yet. So how much money are we talking about, and what's their goal? What would be in it?
Yeah, well, the details are still being worked out, but it appears that this could be a $3 trillion infrastructure package. And it's hard to get our minds around that type of money, but $3 trillion, we're talking roughly $10,000 a person in infrastructure spending. And they say the goal is infrastructure, but that's actually not the true goal. I think AOC is more on the right track here. This is about centralizing even more power, economic power, in the hands of Washington, D.C. And traditionally, with infrastructure, these are bipartisan packages. Usually it's a focus on interstate highways and airports. When you hone in on this is actually getting the federal government involved in school construction, local projects, many items that typically are handled by state and local government. And that's what we want. We want state and local governments having that control, because that results in more efficiency, more transparency, more accountability. I mean, think about your own school district. If you have a project that needs done or there's wasteful spending, you can go directly to the school board or the superintendent, because your property taxes are being impacted. When you centralize this power in the hands of Washington, D.C., you lose that control, and it opens everything up to more corruption and squandering of not just current resources, but future resources as well, because we're borrowing $3 trillion to do this.
Such a good point about the local control. I was gonna say something about it. Oh, why when the government says infrastructure, do people's brains just turn off, right? We're just like, oh, it's an infrastructure project. Okay, whatever you want. Why do we just go along with that?
I think we go along with that usually because when we think infrastructure, we're often thinking of when we're traveling, let's say from Pittsburgh to Baltimore or from LA to San Francisco on the interstate highway system. When we think of traveling, when we think of flying somewhere. The problem with this bill is we're not really talking about freeways and airports so much. We're talking about a transformation of our economic system and our energy system. They're not calling it the Green New Deal, but you know that many billions of dollars in this package will go to transforming how things are done. And that word sounds really great as well, transforming. But when you're talking about the government taking resources from one person and then channeling it to DC and then distributing it to the sectors that they prefer, what you end up with at the very least is cronyism. But more importantly, for all of our pocketbooks, you end up in inefficiencies, meaning that the cost of things that we need go up. Things like energy, which is used not just to heat and cool our homes and cook our dinner, but is also used to travel. And if we want to see a situation like we see in Germany, where they have implemented a version of a Green New Deal, look at how the typical middle-class family is doing in Germany. They earn $10,000 less per year in disposable income per family. That's what we have to look forward to here. And that's what people like AOC aren't telling us.
How much does an infrastructure project or plan usually cost? I mean, again, $3 trillion, we can't wrap our head around that. What's the norm?
That's a great question. I can tell you it is substantially under $3 trillion over 10 years. And that's because there's that split usually. You have the federal government that handles components of infrastructure, but much infrastructure. You think about your wastewater treatment centers. Think about your local roads and your local schools and your libraries, your fire departments, police stations. That's almost exclusively handled on the state and local level. But the goal of the current group of bureaucrats and elected officials in DC, they want to take away that power and control. You know, it really drives some of our friends on the left nuts when they think about places like Florida that are competitive and open for business, and Texas and Georgia. And you look at how inefficient government is in places like Chicago, LA, and New York City. They can't stand that. They see these left-wing governments failing, and now they want to push those failures onto the rest of us. And this infrastructure package is going to go a long way in accomplishing that dastardly goal.
Yeah. I'm definitely getting the idea that it's not, the money is a huge issue too, and we could talk about inflation and all that another day, which is surely coming. But yeah, it's the control aspect which makes this even more insidious. We got about 30 seconds. How many votes does this need, and are Republicans going to go for it?
Well, it depends on which route they go to pass this. Likely, Congress is going to go the reconciliation route, which in shorthand means that they can pass this with a bare majority, even in the Senate, if they go this route.
Wow.
So it's an uphill battle to stopping this type of wasteful spending.
Why would they not go that route?
It'll be much harder to pass if it requires 60 votes to cut off a filibuster in the Senate. It does not appear that this package has the votes of 60 senators, but it quite possibly might have the support of 50+1.
Yeah, it's crazy. I bet it would. All right, Joel Griffith, Heritage Foundation. All right, let's talk again. We'll get another update as we get closer. Thanks, Joel.